We're starting,
I'd like to
guys.
welcome everyone today for a special day to celebrate one event to dedicate it with Scott Danzy for 10 years of service with Covenant House. Father's Day for 35 years. Before we get started, I'd like to ask Pastor TJ to come up for a lead prayer.
Let's look to God. Lord, you call us to your service and to continue your work among us and through us. May your love never abandon us. God, thank you for such love, such guidance, your presence. Thank you for always sending the very best people. Please bless your servants with more ways to serve and love, through their marvelous loyalty and gifts. Please also bless them with rest and renewal for service well done. We ask this through you who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to ask Mary McDonald, our associate executive director, to come up and say a few words on it.
Hi, everybody.
Mary.
It's such a great pleasure to come here and talk about Scott, our esteemed coworker. Scott, I've been lucky to have Scott as my coworker, and I think we have all been very lucky to have Scott join us in the work that we do at Covenant House. And Scott has incredible skills with him. He has hands-on skills. He knows how to turn a wrench and work a hammer and work with all the latest and greatest. And what he doesn't know how to do, he goes out and he finds out. Because just like all things, things are ever changing with technology and things. And Scott can always be depended on to go right out and learn whatever he needs. And Scott brings people skills, and he brings patience, and he brings great professionalism. And always count on Scott to speak appropriately on behalf of Covenant House and advocate on behalf of the youth here when he's dealing with the vendors and the different people and trying to teach them how we need to have things done so it works best for the Covenant House way. And Scott's very thoughtful and flexible in his spirit as well as with his time. And we have to thank his family for the flexibility in his time, because when we call Scott at 3 in the morning and say, there's a leak in the water heater and we can't get hot showers, Scott jumps in his Jeep and drives the road and comes here and starts to call the vendors from his house and solve the problems and gather his team to make sure that we can be the best that we can be here. And so he's here when we need him, and that's very important, and that's something that's a very quality that many people in this room share, and in their passion, their love for Covenant House and the work that we do. And Scott's pretty top on that list. And he's careful and he's caring. He's preventative. He tries to make sure things are in a certain way because so that people won't get hurt, or so that things will serve us best. He really pays close attention to how we work and what we do so that he can provide the best customer service and that he can prepare his team to do the same. And at times the facilities work, it's thankless work sometimes, He fixes things that we break, and we break them again, and he fixes them again, and he has patience, and we break it again, and then sometimes we just, we're not happy just breaking it, we break the whole wall that was holding whatever it was that we broke, and he fixes it again, and he does it with a smile, and he does it with his spirit, and a very caring, again, customer service, attitude here, and he's out there seeking products that we can't break. But we constantly keep that challenge alive for him. And I think in some ways it can be funny when you're not, when you step away from it, when you're in the moment. I'm sure it's incredibly frustrating, but we never hear that, from Scott. Scott delivers and says, well, you know how sometimes we can be, so I had to fix that thing for the 100th time, and here's the bill, and sorry about that. And we know it's not his fault, but he feels defeated because he wants to do the best that he always can do for us and provide us with good product and good service. So, especially in our unique world, the challenges of the work, he's not just working a homeless shelter and taking care of residents, a residential facility here. It's just more than what we do here. And any of our youth know that we do more than a lot of places do for our clients. And that's an important part. We want to do more. And Scott always strives to be extraordinary as he carries out his work. Even when in his world, I'm sure that there's not a lot of other social service facilities that do banquets and special events and sleep outs and ask people to put on a suit and tie and go represent with us, stepping right out of the box that he's normally in, and Scott will do what he needs to do to represent here. And he does it with a smile and, again, with incredible patience. If I didn't say he was patient, I want you to know how patient he is. And he always comes to work with a helping attitude, a helping hand, and a smile. And he's gentle, a gentle soul, and just but another of those people that have found their way to Covenant House. And I have felt so blessed to have him as my coworker and my friend. And for one, I'm happy to work alongside of him and thankful that he's given us 10 years of service. And we will look forward to many, many more, Scott. And we have a small gift representative of our thanks for your service. And what it always is it's an opportunity for you to pick what you'd like to have. So we have a nice catalog in here. You'll be able to select an item of your choice.
Speech.
I don't know what to say. Thank you. Mary, you're just my rock. Brian, where are you at? Oh, you're back there with the camera. Every time I need you, the door's always open. Rise, same thing. That's just the way Covenant House is, and I couldn't think of anywhere else. So, thank you.
If anybody else wants to say anything about Scott, please feel free. Thomas is going to start us off.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say congratulations on your 10 years of service, and you're the best, man. You're one of the best. Thank you.
So here's the deal. We had a guy working for us for a long time named Rich Walker, and he wore real short shorts and red socks with his work boots. He said, "Rich, why do you dress like that?" He said, "Just to people off." And when Rich left, we thought, man, it's going to be good. And then God sends this guy. And without you, I don't know, we might have made it through these years, and especially Sandy. And then along comes Tony and Tom. What a team. And not only here, starting in Camden. Right, Mandy? How many times did Scott save us? 100. Yeah. In so many different ways. Jazzy, am I lying? No. And Scott, you're like the frame of the building. You're like the skeleton, the support of everything. Without you, wouldn't have it.
Too kind.
Can't see that number no more. What's that number? Tell me, what is it, sweetie? Tell me.
1-800-999.
Thank you. Don't get old, because you can't see. What's your name?
Katie.
Katie, I'm Father Stephen. Katie, look, I'm looking for a skinny white kid. She's from one of the boroughs. I can't remember those boroughs. Which borough are you from?
Queens.
Yes, she's from the other one. Astoria. Is that a borough?
No.
No.
Anyhow, if you see her, would you call me, please? She's like a light brown hair. I don't want to say she's retarded, but she's a little bit slow. And some guy has her out here. I appreciate that. I gotta go. Okay, now watch. Not Kate, but who's ever pimping her out or this kid. Stay away from that cousin house and don't talk to them no more. She says, get off my back. He wasn't looking for me. He's an old goofball. He couldn't even see the car. He was asking me about some kid from me. He didn't even know what a borough was. What happened there? What happened there? What did I want to get into her head? Right. What did I want to do? Set her up for trouble. Did I stay long? Took me a minute. I got some good demographic information. I found out where she was from. I got her name, if it was her real name, right? Now what am I hoping for? Maybe I'll get a call in the 911. I didn't find that girl but when I see her again, what can I say? Oh, it's me. She'll say, oh, it's that goofy guy again, right? Okay? So going in with weakness, I show that made up missing kid poster that I made in the office a minute ago. Right? I'll make it up for whatever neighborhood I'm in. Picture out of my wallet of my niece, and I say, have you seen this kid? I'm hoping they don't say yeah. As a matter of fact, I got her in the back seat.
So, this is a tough one, you know, for all of us, but a beautiful one too, right? And as Steve has taught us, we go to our history often to learn. Is a time to be born, and a time to die, and a time to plant, and a time to reap, a time to die and to rise. There's a time to be sad, and there's a time to celebrate and be joyous. And I think, as Steve would want us to have it, you know, we all are a little sad as this goes on, some of us real sad, but we should be joyous, and we should be happy that in our time, in our experience here at Covenant House or outside or beyond, we all have been touched by a man who's been a little touched, right? I mean, and so, and that's really sacred space. That's something real special. When I first came to Covenant House to New Jersey, the first person I met was Father Steve, and at the time we really didn't have anything. I think we had lost a building, and he was working out of a van, and I said, what did I get into? This guy's out there. And what I've learned from Steve, I can't even comprehend or even articulate. And what he has done to the fabric of the depth of this community, it can't be articulated. It's what we call the song beneath the words. It's the song beneath the words. We've learned so much from Steve. I think of what St. Francis said, and Steve's a fan of Francis, and he said, preach the gospel always, every day, every minute, all the time. And if you have to, use words. Use words. And Steve has shown us that you don't have to use words, that you can do it. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of three core elements that I think, and again, it's challenging to comprehend all of the things, but the first thing I think, the many gifts that Steve has given us, all of us can think back, and I hope we take the time to reflect on those gifts, those challenges. And Steve would do this beautiful thing that we've learned from this prayer from the East, comfort me in my afflictions and afflict me in my comfort. You may have heard that from him even. Comfort me in my afflictions and afflict me in my comfort. And when many of us were broken or sad or lost or frightened, Steve was able to comfort us in our afflictions, eh? And sometimes when we got too arrogant or got too comfortable, I'll speak for myself, or soft in our own thing, Steve would call us to more. And sometimes by a joke, and sometimes by profound theology, and sometimes by just a slight cheese sandwich in the shop. Did anyone really have a cheese sandwich? Cheese sandwich, I think I ate one. But that was symbolic for, you know, for a visit. And I think often Steve would do it in the same breath often. He would comfort us in our afflictions, and then he would afflict us in our comfort. So many of our kids were given that beautiful thing in the same breath by Steve, who he taught us to. Right? It's comfort you, that you're divine. And it's to challenge you that you need to be more to yourself and to your world. Right? That's the kind of message of Covenant House, and that's what Steve has given us.
here's some of the things that I have seen and watched from this holy man, right? The one thing that I think that we should all kind of go to school on is this is a man of great humility. This is a man who's smarter than everybody in the room. Don't even think, you masters people. I got 2 of them. And I sit at the feet of my Father. I sit at the feet of our fathers so that we can learn and we can listen. A man of great humility. He would articulate himself clearly as a student before he was the profound teacher that he truly is. There's the paradox. This is a man of paradox who can understand the great part of our humanity and understand the great part of our divinity and hold that together and smile and laugh and joke with it in the same breath. Humility. Don't go too hard. How about this one? We're humble beggars. Doing what? Serving humble beggars. That's what we learn. We're not different than our young people. We're not different than anyone. Who cares who you are in your position? We're humble beggars serving humble beggars. How blessed are we to chew on that one? That creates covenant community. That's what keeps us all together. We're just a piece, a very important piece, but you're just a piece. And we have to hold that in the same breath. Tremendous humility. It's a man who could write hundreds of books, and when he meets with our young people, what does he do? He listens. He listens. And he listens with a heart that is so open, and he says to them, you can influence me. I want to know who you are for who you are. He doesn't spew his wisdom or go off on the many things that he knows and has experience. He doesn't pull rank. I've been here for 25 years. Never. He listens. He accepts people where they are. He wraps around them for who they are and appreciates who they are in their divinity and in their brokenness. Go to school on that. If we can learn that, we have honored this man. Humility. Humble beggars serving humble beggars. 2, a man of great courage. 25 years. Didn't try to go up the ladder. Honestly, because he didn't know what wall the ladder was leaning against. Never wanted to go up the ladder. Always wanted to promote him. Never let us promote him. Wanted to give us a raise. Never took a raise. Tremendous humility. Tremendous courage. Always faithful. Always faithful. Dark times here at Covenant House. Shadowy times here at Covenant House. We felt lost. Always courageous. Always strong. Clear to say what he felt in a humble way, but in a very clear way. And from that courage of faithfulness, we've learned a lot. In that courage comes his teaching moment, too, because he would say what he needed to say. He was true to himself. And that's a challenge for all of us, too. Can we be true to our core and to ourselves? So it is humility, but it also has to be with tremendous courage. You all want to talk, so I won't go too far, but I could go. How could you not? How could you not? And the final thing I think that I'd like us to really reflect on and take from this man's 25 years of walking in this building. Faithfulness. Faithfulness. There's a faith in loving deeply the one that you love. Faith in loving deeply. When you love deeply, you have to have faith. Trust that it's working. And what does he have faith in? He's had faith in the staff. He trusted us, and I know in my own experience when I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, he had faith in me and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And I bet that's more than half the room. I felt that too. A faithfulness to you as staff. And he's had a faithfulness to our young people. He saw their divinity, had faith in that would win the day, that their goodness would win the day, that their hopes and dreams would win the day. And in many times when most of the staff would say, crazy, this kid is a good kid. And he would call us to more, see the divinity, and have faith in the goodness. Where did it all come from? Faith in his God. Take that home. You can't be a smiling, crazy guy walking with bed bugs and wearing the same freaking shirt and be smiling from ear to ear if you don't have a profound place to stand with your faith and your God in an intimacy that does not shake.
Amen.
And so as we continue to live this beautiful legacy that Steve has given us, when there was no building, when there was no program, when it was a shitty van, sorry, can I say that? When there was a van that should have been put into the garbage pail, Steve had humility in doing the work out of a van under the boardwalk. He had courage and did not let go. And he had faith. Believing that somehow in God's time, with God's great grace, He will come and fill this building and fill this world and fill this community. We cannot thank Him enough, right? We all can't do that enough. So what do? In thanks. And by the way, he won't want thanks. He probably left already. The basket, I told him to say a prayer once at our first thing, right? You remember that? I said, all right, now Father Steve. It was a big thing. Father Steve, come to the podium. Right? He was gone. I'm going to tell you about the costume of the prayer. She was an atheist. It was That's true. We all have Father Steve stories, right? We all have Father Steve stories. Some of us will share, and some of them we won't, because they're a special place in our heart. But my hope and my prayer for all of us is to take the wisdom and the gift, the courage that Steve has demonstrated, right? The humility that Steve has demonstrated, and most of all, this faithfulness in us as our young people, this faith in us as individuals in a community, and let's be challenged by this man's faith to his God. Lucky us, lucky you, to have been with him in his presence and listen to his crazy stories. And I don't know, I go home and I go, what was he saying? You know? And I think he was just playing with him. I don't know what the gift has been to you about Steve. And for some of you, I know for me, it has been a comfort in our afflictions. And sometimes it's been a bit of an affliction in our own comfort or our own arrogance. Right? That's gift. That's gift. Let's take this gift that Steve has given us. Right? Let's take it. He doesn't want anything. What does he want us to do? He wants us to be people of joy. See, that's the key when you know someone has faith. Because they're joyous. They've given their burdens and worries to God. And you know that from Steve. So that's the litmus test from my study, my know, and my watch. I'm old too. I've been here 33 years, so I've been to the rodeo. And that's how I know people are of deep faith. Because they're joyous. They trust. They know that God has them in the palm of his hand. So a tribute to Steve is a few things. One, have courage. Be strong in your conviction to feed the hungry and clothe the naked and be there for people. Be crazy over the top of courage. Be humble. You're just a piece. We're humble beggars serving humble beggars. And as you begin your day or end it, kneel to your God. Kneel to your God and know that God holds you. That's the message that I take from Steve. And that's what came to my heart. I didn't know what I was going to say. But the point is this, right? This is our opportunity, you know, and we'll have our tears and we'll give our hugs. But the point is that let the legacy continue of courage, of humility, and of faith. We have been blessed. We have been blessed. There is a time to mourn, but I believe there's a time to celebrate, and this is that time. For he's come among us and has loved us. Yeah, deeply. Lucky us. Steve. Congressman Leonard. I just got to say one more thing. I thought this was canceled, so I dressed in and I was like, oh my God, I didn't wear a tie, I didn't wear I said, Steve.
I don't even know where to get it together, but Jim, I want to say the legacy part lives with me. I mean, that's why I'm standing here in this suit right now, because of that man in the back and my introduction to him. I have many stories to tell, and they told me not to stay up here too long, so I won't, but I can tell stories. Father Steve actually used to be a customer service representative, believe it or not. He worked for Prudential Insurance Company. He had a cubicle right next to mine. And I never forget the day that they hired him and how we met, and I'll tell that story because this will probably be the last time I'll ever tell it publicly since he's going to retire. I love them so much. But we worked at, they hired these guys that they wanted to hire with these college degrees to come in and do customer service and be great representatives of their company and their corporation. So they hired us two dopes. Him and myself, two guys from Philadelphia who were down here in Linwood, New Jersey, and didn't know what we were doing, where we were. We used to go in the park and look at these big weird birds and think, because we were only used to pigeons. And here we see eagles and pelicans, falcons, and we talk and we walk and we hung out and did things. And the funny part about it is we would go through training. When we were going through the training, Steve would make these weird, like, all-colored jokes, and only me and him could respond or relate to them. So we'd laugh and giggle, and everybody thought, these two guys are nuts. And they talked about Father Steve, and they really didn't care much about Father Steve because he didn't do a good job. He wouldn't answer the phone, or he would get on the phone and talk to people for a long time. He would reinstate policies when people had accidents, you know, because they used to have him crying, and he would reinstate the policy back to something, get her paid. They would listen to the phone, and they'd be like, oh, stop it. They were sick of him, and they were ready to fire him. People would walk around and, you know, and talk, and one day, you know, we would always talk about helping people. And this is where I'll go into my humility and why I do what I do. And we always talk about helping people, serving people. I couldn't really get that. I was a kid from North Philly, I had a job at Prudential, I'm ready to get rich, BMW's coming, you know, everything's fine. But mentally, what are you talking about? And Father Steve used to feed people, and he used to go out and work with the prostitutes in the street. People, I don't remember this, but in Atlantic City, prostitutes used to walk up and down the street, like in Vegas. I mean, you would come out, it was like a parade. And Father Steve would go out and feed the young people that used to be the younger girls, and try to help them. So he did great work in the community, but at this job, he wasn't well-liked and well-respected. But he would always talk about Covenant House. And he said, man, I'm going to New York. Because he was riding around in his van, and kids in vans and breaking them. They said, listen, come and talk to us, and maybe we can help you. So he was going to New York City to talk to the people at Covenant House, the sister, to see if he could get money and resources for Covenant House. And he talked to me the whole time when he was in New York, because he was a little afraid, and I would tell him what to do if he saw some guys that looked suspicious. And he got there, and they decided to give him some money and do some things to help him out. So he came back to Prudential. And what happened was, at that time, like I said, it was very tough. They were trying to fire him. I was very hurt by it, but they were trying to terminate him. He was horrible. So they were going to fire him. I kind of understood the thing, but he was my friend. And I didn't want to see him go. So he decided that he was going to resign from the position at Prudential. He was going to leave, and he was going to just go do his thing. This thing I thought he was crazy about. Like, he's got to be nuts. So he puts in his resignation for Prudential. Now, the weekend he put it in, it was this big article, and you had the life section on the Sunday paper. They do a story about somebody's life. So they do this big story about Father Steve's life. No, let me step back. So before they do the big story about Father Steve's life, Father Steve puts in his letter of resignation. He comes to me with these big photo albums. He says, Leonard, I need to talk to you. So he takes me to this conference room, and he breaks out these photo albums. So I'm looking at these photo albums, and I see these Pope-like people, and people in those garb that they wear when you're a Greek Orthodox priest, like fancy stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Who is this? And Father Steve said, out of all our friendship and all of our times of talking, I failed to share something with you. He said, I'm a Greek Orthodox priest. Now, the whole time that I'm talking to him about, I can't even say it. Trust me, we're talking all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, so after I passed out, literally, but we had a genuine bond. We had a unique kind of relationship. And we probably didn't accept me. So we probably wouldn't have had that if I would have told you I was a priest. We probably would have been right. If you told me I was a priest, I would have had to go run somewhere to avoid a lightning bolt. But anyway, after all that happened, and he left, and I was sad by it. But that weekend, they did the thing in the paper, in the lifestyle thing. So they had this big story about Father Steve's life, about what he did in Boston, and his big church he had, because he actually had a big church where he lived in a big place and was fancy and all this fancy religious stuff. So they did this article in the paper. So all the people that were hating on him and trying to fire him and all the managers, they read it. So when I came to work that day, they were all by my cubicle, like, jumping on me because they thought that I knew all the time that he was a priest. I never knew he was a priest. It's your fault that you talked the way you talked. It's your fault that you didn't listen to his message like you meant. I did. So I'm get away from me before the lightning bolts start coming. That's kind of how I met Father Steve. So me forward. I'm at Prudential, everything's going great, I'm ready for corporate thing, don't forget that the BMW in the back of my mind, but they decide they relocate and they're moving. So they closing the place. So I don't have a job. So I'm thinking I'm going back to grad school, you know, follow with some of the things Father Steve told me about helping and doing some stuff in the community, get my master's degree and become a teacher. But I needed a job. Like I was struggling, so I called him. And Father Steve said, listen, I got the perfect job for you. I said, what would that be? He said, Covenant House. I said, Covenant House? Is that the group of people used to go run around helping people and giving out sandwiches? I can't do that, Father. He said, listen, this is your call. This is what you want to do. He said, but you might not believe that right now. He said, come down, see the place, meet the people, and see what you think. So I come, and we had back in those days, and I was around in the early days. When we were here, we didn't have a shelter. We housed the kids at Chelsea Park. But I came down, and we had the drop-in center, and I remember all these kids and staff and everybody going around. And when I came to the door, I couldn't tell who was who. I couldn't tell the staff from the kids or the what. And I said, this is the place for me. This is the place for me. And that's when I kind of signed on. Steve got me a job in rites of passage at nighttime so that I could study while I worked. He told me to do that, and I did it. And that's kind of how I met him, and that's kind of how things worked out for me to come to Covenant House when I was about 15, well, now, about 25 years ago. But I had the blessing. I had the blessing of not only opening this place, and sitting here in the lobby and in the lounge. I mean, I'm in a lobby with people and hundreds of people, I mean, followers. But to be here and to see some of the things that we were able to accomplish over those years and those blessings are amazing for me. And actually, not even the blessing of being here in Atlantic City and serving folks. I had the opportunity to serve folks in Philadelphia. I was actually working at Covenant House in Philadelphia, and we started out from the ground with no shelter as well, and built. So there's 2 shelters I was actually part of establishing, the one here in Atlantic City and in Philadelphia. And I'm very proud of what Father Steve empowered me to do. You know, and I was thinking and running around trying to find a job and figure out what I was going to do, but Father Steve showed me something else. He showed me that you can have not a job, you can have a calling. And that's what this is for me as far as serving people and helping people and providing services and servanthood. Because I remember being a kid from North Philly and we talked about this a lot. Like, you never thought about servanthood. I mean, you talk about the tough things, but people that serve are the tough guys. People that can do things and sacrifice for others, that's the tough guy. That's the real tough guy. And believe it or not, for all the young men here that think, you know, being a gangster and being tough is tough, trust me, you can have the compassion to help a woman and a child, you can have the compassion to help a man who can't do for himself, or somebody who's down now, or pick somebody up from the street takes way more courage than any other thing. If we have the opportunity to pursue that and be a part of that, and that's the gift that Father Steve has given me, and I'll always be indebted to him for what he's done, because, listen, I'm here serving, and I'm serving well, and I fight every day. I want to thank the young people. It wasn't for you guys shape me. The young people tore me apart. And I was rough too, because I was the enforcer. I was the one to give everybody a last dinner when I had to discharge the young men from the shelter, and I did that well. But I learned a lot. Panic in the test. They got to go, and I'd be like, but I would always try to serve the kids when I was discharged. I would always try to give them hope to come back, and I always let them know that they could return. So it was important, and that's important stuff. And also to learn compassion, unconditional love. I mean, those things, those aren't easy things to do, brother. And those are the kind of things that challenge me to do. And like Jim said, not directly, but by the little things he might say, kind of get you to be focused on what's important. And I'm always going to be grateful for that. I'm wishing him the best. I got to talk to Mardo, and we're going to be great. We got a pool, and I have somewhere to go now. I just hope Father Steve so much as far as helping me out and shaping my life. And like I said, the reason why I'm standing right here today is because of Father Steve. He saw something in me. He saw something in this young kid from North Philadelphia who, you know, didn't know his hand from his foot, you know, and was able to kind of get some direction in what I want to do. And to be honest with you, back home in Philadelphia, a lot of folks are proud of me. A lot of folks who thought I wouldn't be successful. My picture was in the paper for the work that we did at Covenant House, and people were knocking on my mother's door telling her, your son's in the paper and he's not in jail. I mean, those kind of accomplishments and those kind of things we have role models in the community is very important. And all that drive and determination and goodwill to their father. And I'm going to miss him. This is my second time sending him off. Believe it or not, he retired before, and we sent him off. Because my daughter was standing here. She was 3. She was standing here with me when we were saying goodbye, and we did a speech, and I gave a speech, and it was a good thing. Now my daughter's 26 years old, and my son's 25 years old, and my granddad. But it goes to show you that you practice humility and good with folks will be fine. Trust me. And I want to thank all the kids and the staff too, because the staff helped me a great deal in shaping my career as well. Ross will give me the flag. So
See a lot theological principle. People are basically good. Right? People are basically good. And if you call out to that good, in all the years I've been doing this, no one has ever said, no, I won't help you. People are, so I'm not going up saying, I will help you. I'm saying, in my weakness, help me. No one has ever said no.
I know many stories about Father Steve, and most of them I probably shouldn't tell, so I won't. But I just wanted to speak, I was thinking about him leaving, and I was thinking about one thing. We've had many names we've called him. He's been Father Steve, Father Stephen, Mr. Father Stevenson, Padre. And we've called him so many, I've even called him the Michael Jordan of Covenant House, and, he's retired 4 times then. But, one thing people would call him the man of mystery. We'd always talk about, oh, he's going to disappear, he sneaks out the back, he climbed out a window, but I think in all fairness, we've made fun of him and told jokes about that for years, and Father Steve, I think I need to come clean with him. Because it took me a long time to realize why he did that. And I think it's 2-pronged. One thing is, he would just pour himself out. No matter what you needed, I needed, he would pour every ounce of energy he had. He had to go get out of there and regroup and nourish himself and pray and have some time so he could come back and pour it all out again. And number 2, though, he taught us. He was my greatest mentor in life, has been Father Steve. I would not be here if it weren't for Father Steve. And I know he would say, get Sister Grace on the phone. And he'd say, okay, I got her. And then he left. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to ask her. And I would be forced to talk to Sister Grace and get to know her and develop a relationship. He would disappear to get out of the way and let us do what we needed to do. We didn't believe we could do it. None of us believed we could be as good as Father Steve. And I still don't believe I can be as good as Father Steve. But I know I can be as good as Mary Ann Daly. And he would get out of the way and let me be myself. I would be cursing him and being mad at him. He left me one time at a TV station and he said, come with me, I have to go on this little TV show. Just come with me. So I came with him, and when it was time to air, he had gone, and I was on it. No idea. But you know what? I handled it, and it was fine. He had more faith in me than I did. And he had more faith in all of you who've worked with him, and that's why he got out, and he's getting out of the way big time now. I don't think he's coming back, and I don't think he should be expected to. We need to carry on. He gave us such a great gift of himself, and we need to give that gift to each other, to the young people. I see a lot of the young people from the past who've come back who are not so young anymore. It's good to see some of you, and I know you have a piece of Father Steve. You need to give it back. We need to give it back. We need to take each other out for potatoes when somebody is getting stressed out. Anybody who's worked with him probably knows what that is. Why it was potatoes, I don't know. And there's one other person, Father Steve, I just had to tell you, there's somebody else who you and I know, who's retiring, who sent something for you. So you gotta make sure you take this, because that's all I'm gonna talk about. This is from one retiree to another.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Steve.
I don't know, I wasn't really expecting to say anything when I came, but when everybody was talking, Father Steve, that's unbelievable, but I still remember, Father Steve helped me in 1999, and I was lost. I was just lost, and I was so young and just so scared, and it's crazy because one thing that somebody said before about, that Father Steve does is, and it's stuck with me even that I try to pass on today, it's when he's with you, he's with you. There's no, like, the world today where, the phones and the this and that, he just talks to you and makes you feel like you're the only person on earth. And that was so important. I know it was for me back then because I felt like I was completely invisible to society, to everybody. And here was this, I didn't even know he was a priest in the beginning. And like everybody else, you know? I feel like, I think I just now found out what type of priest he was. And I've known him for like 20 years. I don't even know, because he never really talked about that. It wasn't important, you know? What was important was me at the time. And he just, you know, there's so many things that he can say, and I know I can say for me that what he gave me and everything, but like the most important thing to me that he gave me was me. And that's so, because I had lost that completely, and I just never thought I would get that back. And I got it back because he called me by my name. You know, he just called me by my name. And I don't want to cry, but it just changed my life. I mean, I'm 40 years old now, so it was a long time ago. And I live in Pennsylvania, 3 hours away, and I just heard about this 2 days ago. And it's like my whole world just stopped. Everything stopped. And not just mine, but I got on the phone and I said to my family, like, Father Steve's retired. Everybody stopped. What do you got to do to go, to get there, you know? So it's like when you help that one person, when he helped me, it's really a whole family that just, their lives change. And then it just goes on, and like that domino effect. So, I mean, there's just, I mean, he's touched the lives of people that, like, he'll never meet. And they know him, though, you know? And it's so, there is only one Father Steve, you know? But now there's thousands of Father Steves together, you know? Everybody together, because we all do have that piece of him. And there's one thing that he said to me when I was sitting on the curb, and I'll never forget it. There was something important, I forget what was important in his life going on, but he said, he asked me to pray for him, and I was like, he's a priest. Holy shit, that must be serious. Like, he's asking me to pray for him. Like, oh my God, like that's some heaven's love there. And he looked at me so serious, and he said, because I just have faith that God is with me. You have evidence in your life that he is with you. So I know he's with you, so I need you to pray for me. And it was so powerful to me that just at the time, you know, when you just feel invisible and you're hopeless and you're that, and just somebody looks at you and treats you like you're so important. And, you know, when Jim said about listening, my God, that was the main thing, because nobody had listened to me for years at that point. And to have somebody just hear the words that you're saying, but also feel it, and it's so life-changing, something so simple. I mean, there's so many people that were so mean and so rude to me, and just beyond belief to be victimized, but I don't know one of their names. But the kindest person that I've ever met, I will never forget that name. It's Father Steve. That's the biggest impact, you know, and that's why the whole world stopped to come and just to say goodbye, because, you know, you just want to say, like, how important, Father Steve, that you are in my life every single day, because it is every day that was at my son's birthday party a couple of days ago, 21 years old, and it's because of you. Everything is because you took the time to say my name and to really listen to me, and that is just, now it's your time though. It's your time. So, you know, enjoy your life now and your family, and kind of let this family of yours, we'll do your thing now, you know, and you go do yours. But I'm just glad I was able to come out here and just to say how much I love you and how much you mean to me, and so much love and respect. I love you.
Love you too.
I met Father Steve. I was on my way to Covenant House. I was homeless, nowhere to go, no nothing. And we was in the car, and he said to me, he said, you're going to come out here and you're going to change your life. He said, God told me you're going to change it. You're going to be a better man. And I looked at him, and I'm like, you don't know nothing about me. He said, you're going to be good. You're going to be a good man when you get out here. And that was 5 years ago. And today, if I look back 5 years, I'm like, wow, I'm here. I can't believe I'm actually where I am. I got a beautiful family, beautiful kids. If you would have told me this was going to be me in 5 years, you lost your mind. he told me that, and I believed it. And look where I am.
Friends of mine, but hearing everything about this man, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to change my life. I'm glad I gave myself a second chance. I'm glad that I surrendered and said, let go, Paula, this is a wreck. You can't live like that. You know, and y'all said some things about him that I'm about to embark on my new journey. I came home 2010, June 20th, 2010, after doing 15 years in prison. I moved to Massachusetts like 6 months later. I said, I gotta get out of Atlantic City, something gotta happen. Didn't know why, you know, on Coming to America, they spin the wheel and they get the place. That's what I did. I know no one in Massachusetts but myself. All right, I'm about to graduate with 2 degrees. I graduate this year from Holyoke Community College as a Women's Studies major with a concentration in liberal arts. I finished Springfield College School of Human Service with a concentration in criminal justice. I just got my driver's license. I got my own place. It's about giving back. It's about giving yourself a chance. Like, I don't know nobody in here, but I'm grateful that I was sitting here through my friends having death in their family. But a friend of mine put on Facebook that this was going on. I said, I gotta volunteer. I had to volunteer. I had to give back. What was so freely given to me. I have not been to one NA meeting because they get on my nerves. You understand what I'm saying? It was my decision to say either I was going to live or die. It was my decision to say no more. I'm done. I'm done. And just hearing about this man giving himself up, I just was offered a position to work with kids from 12 to 18 who do everything from eating better to trying to eat. I was telling them a lot that I don't know why they're trying to eat a lot because this is not going to happen. You know, but I was scared. I was nervous. I start June 3rd. I mean, start the 30th of this month. So I'll be back. I'll never see any of y'all, most of y'all again, if I'm given the opportunity to come back. But I started a program called Reach Back and Pull Up. Reach Back, we're reaching back into our community and we help and pull up adults and kids. It's a mentoring program that I started here in Atlantic City from Massachusetts. But my dissertation is going to be to try to come back and help our community, the Welfare to Work program, to come and volunteer their services wherever we are needed, not just the Covenant House. You got homeless shelters, you got people that have food pantries. We're just trying to do everything we can and give back. But something that y'all said about this man, that he gives himself and then he disappears. He disappears. And I kept saying at church, why they don't never call me? Why they don't never recognize me? Why don't, you know, at school, why I'm doing so this, that, and the other. Now I see why. It's not about me. It's about God. It's about, what the man say, humble people, what did he say? What did he say? Humble people making humble people or something like that. Well, it's taught me something, God. I'm sitting here and I couldn't even sit still. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was supposed to be here. Because everything I'm about to do for the next person, I was just given some tools. I literally have another tool belt on, just listening to what y'all saying about him. Just seeing how everybody welcomed me, everybody smiled, everybody just said, humbled themselves. I've never been in a place and felt just compelled to say anything, because I just sit back and be like, all right, they don't need to know my story. They don't what they need to know. I was born and raised in Atlantic City. You know, and I love Atlantic City, and I want to help Atlantic City. And I'm coming back to give back to Atlantic City. There's no way in hell I'm going to go out there and get all that and just stay out there, and I know my family and my friends are suffering here. There's no way. I just want to thank you. I met the man a few minutes ago. I'm taking a picture of him. He's like, you get on in the picture, you too. What's your name? He said, who that, Jim? Who that, Jancy? He's like, that's Paul. He's like, oh, well, give him the camera. Come on, you take a picture. You know, and then we turned around. Y'all right, he was gone. who disappeared? I just met you today and you disappeared. You know, but I mean, the things that y'all saying about him, everything y'all said that he does and he's about, and this man right here, you're just willingness to say, okay, I'm there no matter what. Help me to be a better person right now than I've ever been in my life. Because I'm about to embark on a journey that I'm definitely scared of. But I'm not going to give up and I'm not going to run from it. Y'all just gave me tools to use while I'm in it. You know, and I just want to thank y'all for that, because if it wasn't for people like y'all, I wouldn't have wanted to. I just thought I was going to die out there. If it wasn't for people who cared and said, I love you, Paula, and I'm not going to give up on you, Paula, and didn't know Paula, y'all understand.
But Paul, you made a big mistake. You know what it is?
What?
Now you're stuck. You're going to come around and help out. You're not going to get away for 20 years, kid. Let's go get something to eat.
Thanks. Thank you. I'd like to, oh, come on.
I just wanted to say something quickly. This is a lesson my father Steve's my dad. It's something he taught me that I felt was really important and poignant. I don't have a lot to say because I get all emotional and get all choked up right now. But ontology over theology, love over logic, relationship over regret. This is not the end of something. It's a call to action for the rest of us.
Finally. Anyone else?
I'm Erin. I was in the first faith community here, and it was like the first day that we were here. There were 5 of us here, and we had to go around and we had to get a tour of everything. And I can remember meeting staff, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're so glad you're here. You're going to be the religious force of the agency. You're going to bring Jesus here. You're going to be it for the kids. You're going to give spiritual guidance." And I was like, just barely 22. There were kids here that were older than me. I was like, oh crap, what am I in for? And I was like, I can't be someone's spiritual force. I don't even know what my spirituality is. And it was like really overwhelming. I'm like, did I make the right decision to come here? I'm moving to New Jersey. I know nobody but these other people I'm in community with. And then it came time to meet Father Steve, and he just happened to be like walking by, and of course he had forgotten he had an appointment that he was scheduled on our list of people to meet. So he pulled us into the chapel, and we sat in there, and he's like, listen, these kids are going to give you a run for your money. They're going to tell you stories. You got to be strong. He's like, they're going to wear you down. They're going to beat you up. He's like, but don't forget about yourself. He's like, don't forget that even Superman needs this fortress of solitude. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just what I needed to hear. And it was probably the best advice I ever got. And I still use that now, like as a social worker. Like I have my master's degree, but my best wisdom I give my clients is like, don't forget about yourself. Even Superman needs his fortress of solitude. So thank you for the best professional advice.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I don't need to tell you how great your father Steve is. You already know that. You met the man. About a year and a half ago, I thought I lost Father Steve, Padre, my friend. And I'm crying, and I'm calling people and saying what had happened to my friend. And I couldn't keep it together. And I called Roz, and I thought I had it together, and sniffling, and she knew I was crying, and she said, what's wrong? And we go to the hospital, and Mary's there, and Roz is there. We want to comfort the family. I didn't lose my friend. My friend is leaving today. For that, I'm happy. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have worked with him for 21 years. I've learned so much from him. You know, when I came to Covenant House, I didn't think I'd work out. We just didn't like each other. What was that you said? It's like a relationship.
It's an abusive relationship. Someone will beat you up, but you always keep coming back.
I learned that from Mary. It was like an abusive relationship, it's right. Covenant House will always beat you up, but you keep coming back. I didn't like Covenant House. I didn't like much about it. And I was one of those people, Father Steve said, let's go get some ice cream. Code word, you might not make it. Right? So we're on Pacific Avenue outside the old ROP building. And he's telling me the reason you don't like Covenant House is because you don't understand it. The mission statement said that I had to love unconditionally. That was the problem. I couldn't do that. I had family members that I could not do that with. And now my job requires me to deal with kids that are disrespectful, right? We're giving them food from the mission. You guys remember this way back in the day. No one said thank you, right? Everybody had their hats on in the building. You try to tell them to take it off, and something was supposed to happen. We were supposed to do something to those kids, right? Because that's what happened to me, that's what I knew. Father Steve said, if you don't really get the Covenant House mission, loving people unconditionally, then this might not be the place for you. Now, at that time, my ego was too big to understand that. No, there's no way Covenant House will get rid of me. I learned the mission. Right? For me, it was that simple. Learn the mission. Love unconditionally. Because people have hurt in their short lifetimes way more than I ever have. Right? And I needed to love them. I needed to love them despite them not saying thank you. Despite having a hat on. Right? And the work was easy. I never had a bad day since. And I love coming here. And I owe that to my friend, Father Steve. Quick story. So, way back in the day, there used to be Virginia Avenue courts. Who remembers those? Anybody? You remember those? Say no, not. So you're not making this up. There was the Abdullahs and the Salams. Shooting each other, killing each other. Right around the corner from here. Right? Police were afraid to go into Virginia Avenue courts. That's how bad it was. Father Steve says, hey, Ryan, let's go for a walk. Where we going? We're going to Virginia Avenue courts. Right? So here's BAC. Here's my ego. He needs me to protect him. All right, Father Steve, let's go to VAC. We walk in there, and I'm ready to introduce him to everybody. He's cool, he's with me. Don't touch him, don't hurt him. Don't shoot either one of us, right? We walk in, and it's summertime, everybody's out playing ball, and Father Steve! Everybody rushes Father Steve. It's like Michael Jackson had walked in to VAC. And I'm like, what the? I'm standing, like, bite my nail. And that told me there was something really special about this man to be able to walk into VAC in the 90s and pull off what he did. And people were thanking him, thanking you for helping me pay my rent, keep my lights on, thank you for finding my son, thank you for visiting my daughter in jail. That's what it took, right? And I needed to learn that, and I think that's why he took me with him. Because I needed to learn how to love unconditionally, right? So, he's been with us 26 years. And Yeah, I was at some function, and they said that nobody retires from Covenant House. And until today, that's been true. And since we don't retire from Covenant House, what we need to do is leave a legacy so that others, right, can live through your legacy. And that's what this man has done. For those who have not had the opportunity to work with Father Steve, don't worry. His legacy is intact. It's in Camden, it's in outreach, it's in development, it's with Ross Talley, it's with Pastor CJ, Audrey and Lloyd and children. It's with all of us, Aaron, Sister Patty, Mary Ann, Jim Williams. It's here. And we would fail him if we don't carry that legacy. And I'm not about to fail him. Right? Father Steve is the only man I kissed at Covenant House. He's my friend, and I love him dearly. We have a gift for Father Steve. I know last time we gave him a gift, he left it here. Alex, if he leaves it here, please put it on the van so it gets to Florida.
Mandy, a bad girl.
Father Steve, if you will, please come and share your wisdom with us and accept your gift on behalf of our Covenant House community.
We went all out. We went all out.
Lift it up.
Hold it up. It's heavy.
What does it say?
It says, if this man is lost, please return him to Margot Scenario. Celebrating 26 years of service as the angel Gabriel and to the Virgin Mary. I buy these at Walmart at the end of the season for $5. And the girl looked this and that and orders them for me for free. Mary Mac would never buy me a shirt. So. So I was out in outreach the other night when it was kind of warm, and Alex and I were out under the pier. We were out so long, the sun was coming up. And two big guys were having a fight. And Alex was way down the other end, at a place they call the Chapel, where the homeless live down there. And these two guys go, look, I should have had Lloyd with me. They were very threatening. I can't run so fast anymore. So the one guy grabs me and he says, "You're going to settle the argument for us?" I said, "What is it?" He said, I told him that's the moon, and he swears it's the sun. Oh, boy. I said, "Well, fellas, I'd like to help you, but I'm from Philly." I don't know way around here. And that's how it's been my whole life at Covenant House. Audrey, Lloyd has a baby. Bring the baby up. This is going to be short. Turn around a little bit. Mason, look at that. Now take a little walk with me. Take a little walk with me. I'm out in Camden on a Friday night date with my wife, right? She gets a slice of pizza and a Smirnoff's Ice, and I get a slice of pizza and a beer. So if I have a half a beer, then I'm done, right? So we pull into our Friday night date place, turn the car off, and I do this. She says to me, "Stephen, you idiot, what are you doing?" Right? My doctor for 15 years had been giving me an inhaler. She thought I had asthma. I didn't have asthma. You know, I used to box as a boy in Joe Frazier's gym. Never drugged, never drank. I did get locked up once for stealing cars, but
It's another story.
I had a heart blockage I didn't know about. Cops had me out on the pavement, laid me down, they were doing CPR, the men came with the defibrillator, couldn't get me back. They said, this brother is dead. 20 minutes, no heartbeat, no breathing. Threw me in the back of the thing. You know who Clarence Birdseye is? Clarence Birdseye is the man who invented frozen peas. You've seen Birdseye peas, right? They froze me. How long was I frozen? 2 days or something? I was playing cards with Clarence Birdseye. My picture was in the coming attractions down at Flippin's funeral home in Camden. Coming next week. So now all the priests and the religious, the clergy, the ministers, they say, what did you see? If I saw anything, I ain't telling you. You know why? They have it all up here. Now, when this little baby, look how beautiful. If his mother wouldn't, but his fathers aren't that bright. They're very primitive. Leave him in the sun. And the sun is hitting his face, right? He doesn't have a word. He doesn't know the word heat or sun. There's no linguistic signifier, but he just knows what he's feeling, right? This is true. It'll all be ruined when there is a word for it someday, right? But now, having been on that other side, when I see you, that's my cousin. When I look at you, Diane? Candace. Diane's back there. I see the icon of God. I see my cousin. That's somebody I know from that other neighborhood, you see? And that's the only secret. Just to be able to look at the other and see the icon of God. I have to acknowledge the Franciscan spirituality that emulated the love of Jesus Christ that started this work. And yeah, people go wrong. We all make mistakes. We get up, we dust ourselves off, and we keep on going. Keep on loving. I walked into the ladies' room my first day here. I really had to go. And there were all girls in there. And I said, you're all in the wrong room. And they all laughed and turned around and walked out. And when I couldn't find the urinal, they all figured out I was in the wrong room. See what I'm saying? So, you come to a place like this and you think you know. But God takes you by the ear and says, Stevie, come on over here, I want to show you something else. And He shows you a miracle. This man and I stood in a grave together, and thought it was all over. And then there was new life. And one monkey don't stop no show. Amen. Right? Just because your cousin Stevie's taking off the shirt doesn't mean that he's not going to hand it to somebody else and say, I love you. Carry on, brother. The next generation of Albanian knuckleheads is here. You ready, Cockatoo? Yeah. Let's go. Thank you, everybody. Mandy, Jasmine, that's the Canadian girls. Philly crew, Sriracha, I love you. You. I wish I had daughters. Bye, everybody. See you.
Bye,
See you. Don't worry. I will. We'll get it tomorrow.